All right, bang. Today is Thursday. It is May 30th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Before we get into it, I do want to talk about our friends at Game Time here. Game Time, you guys all know what it is. It's the best ticketing app there ever is. Is that right, Mintz?
I love Game Time. Last minute tickets. There's always great deals. And not just can you use it for, you think of sporting events, but it also works for concerts too.
Yep.
And, they've got a great promo code. I believe, is it Code Stool?
For this, it is code DOGWALK.
Code DOGWALK, $20 off your first purchase.
You got it, man.
Yeah, but no, I've used Game Time for anything from Pelicans games to concerts. I mean, it's an amazing app.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan.
I'm going next weekend to the White Sox game. It's Hawaiian Shirt Day. It's a big promo the White Sox do. I go almost every year with a bunch of friends, so I'll be using the Game Time app for that, and of course, I'm going to use that promo code. So make sure you're using it too. I'm going to get those tickets now. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DOGWALK for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I also want to talk about our friends at Stella Blue Coffee, which is our friend Big Cat.
Yes, yeah. Amazing coffee too. It's not just as Big Cat, an unbelievable American, but I mean, if you hadn't checked out Stella Blue, the coffee's freaking great. Yeah. I drink it every day.
I love that cold brew. Obviously, Stella Blue Coffee. We believe good coffee is one of life's non-negotiables. Stop drinking those boring, tasteless big coffee beans and turn to Stella Blue. Remember, your mornings are sacred. It's time to start treating them that way. Not only are Stella Blue Coffee's premium beans sourced with the most coffee-rich geographies on earth, but they're also Big Cat tasted and approved, which is obviously more important. Stella Blue Coffee's delicious roasts are available in cold brew, K-Cups, ground, and whole bean formats to seamlessly fit into your morning coffee routine, and every bag sold helps save dogs. Okay, so head to your local Jewel Osco or Mariano's today to find the very best deals on Stella Blue Coffee, or use promo code WALK for 20% off any order of $25 or more on StellaBlueCoffee.com. Take back your morning with Stella Blue Coffee.
Yeah, and then also, I know Mariano's is partners with Stan's. He's got the new donut promotion.
Yeah.
New donut promotion with Stan's Donuts.
Mm-hmm.
I go to Stan's and Mariano's in my neighborhood in West Loop all the time. That's my local grocery store. A big fan of both.
Yes, sir. It's big time.
Yeah, Mariano's has a thing where I'm a lazy man when it comes to cooking. Imagine that. And they have a thing where you can buy a steak and they'll just grill it there for you.
Oh yeah, it's the best feature.
Yeah, so I've been doing that.
It's a great feature. So obviously, as you heard, you cannot mistake that voice. I'm joined by Ben Mintz on today's episode. I will attempt to unwind the ball of yarn that is called Ben Mintz.
Good luck.
Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me on Dog Walk, man. I always love being in Chicago, getting to do some content with you. So, when you hit me up about this, I'm just an immediate yes on all Eddie and Barstool Shock.
There we go. I like that. So, Mintzy, it's a big week for us in general. I did one yesterday.
Yes.
And then tomorrow or on Monday, you'll be doing the draft with us, which was fun. And then obviously today. So, I usually try to have people on, just kind of shoot the shit with them, get to know them more, give, some of the audience more of a background on everything. I don't know how we've just never crossed paths on this, but I'm happy to be doing it now. Hell yeah, man. Well,
I honestly, I've been, following your content for years now since I've been at Barstool, and I think you're a really good interviewer.
Thanks,
I think that's, one of your really good strong suits. So I'm excited to see where this goes.
I appreciate that. So tomorrow's your 41st birthday.
Yep, turning 41.
Mm-hmm.
We did it big for the 40th last year. Now it's kind of whatever on the birthdays. But, we got some fun Barstool stuff planned this weekend. Putt Punt at Joe's on Weed. It may be sold out by the time this airs, but if it's not, get tickets. Come join us Friday night. And then got a Barstool Crawfish Bowl with Megan Making Money at Stool River North Saturday 2 to 5. So. And NCAA baseball tournament this weekend too. So
yeah, a lot going on.
Fun weekend.
So I think a lot of people, myself included, get a little confused about your background. So is it Mississippi? Is it Louisiana? Is it Ole Miss? Is it LSU? So take us from there. Where'd you grow up?
Okay,
1 through 18, and then the college path.
Okay, I'm a mutt. Is basically why it's confusing.
Okay.
So I was born in Monroe, Louisiana, which is northeast Louisiana. It's 70,000 people, and then West Monroe's attached to it. It's 40. So my dad went to LSU. It was a Kappa Sig at LSU. My mom's family has a farm in the Mississippi Delta. So it's in Chatham, Mississippi, the 200-person just sprawling metropolis. It's on Lake Washington. It's closest city. It's close, about 20 miles from Greenville, Mississippi.
Okay.
So I grew up, like, my mom was diehard Ole Miss, went to Ole Miss Law School, and my dad was diehard LSU. So I just grew up in the thick of the LSU Ole Miss thing. Mm-hmm. And I went to high school in Monroe and, was there till I was 18. And then when it came to go decide on college, I couldn't make my mind up between LSU and Ole Miss. And, like, usually you make your college decision in, like, April, your senior year. I walked across the graduation stage saying LSU or Ole Miss, and I didn't decide till late June. And my mom wanted me to go to Ole Miss so bad. Listen to this move she pulled. One night I'm just like going to go to bed. She leaves the Robert Frost poem, The Road Not Taken, on my pillow. Just trying to say, because like everybody in Louisiana goes to LSU, do something different. And it worked. And so that's why I went, I knew that you couldn't go wrong with Oxford or Baton Rouge. Both are amazing, fun places. But I decided to do something different. I went to Ole Miss, and, it seems like it's turned out pretty good, even though it was a long and winding road.
And so what year did you graduate high school?
So I graduated high school in May of 2001.
May of 2001.
And then I went to Ole Miss, and so I always joke with my Ole Miss thing. I went in with Eli Manning's first year starting was my fall of 01. So I went in with Eli Manning, and then I graduated with Chad Kelly in 2015.
That's a long road.
It was a long road. But then the LSU stuff, I get messed with. Like, not just did my dad go there, but I grew up going to games at Death Valley.
Yeah.
And I grew up watching LSU baseball. And then on the long winding road thing, I ended up working for ESPN Baton Rouge, which is the LSU flagship. So I'm still so many relationships down there. I mean, like I always joke that, like, between Ole Miss and LSU, it's like 90% of my relationships.
That's kind of interesting because if you don't get into LSU and you have to go to like U Lafayette or something like that, are those people conflicted too, or is it kind of like just agreed upon? Like, hey,
well, everybody in Louisiana. Well, Lafayette's a different deal because Lafayette and Baton Rouge are like 45 minutes an hour apart. They're kind of rivalry cities a little bit. So there's kind of animosity there with like the Cajun culture and South cultures.
Didn't know that.
They don't really like each other. But the rest of all of Louisiana just supports LSU, except for inner city New Orleans is a melting pot where Tulane is. You got a lot of SEC transplants, but then all the suburbs love LSU.
Gotcha. And all right, so 2001, you head over to Ole Miss. Obviously, the famous fraternity composite photo came out.
Yep, ATO. You were in ATO too.
I was in ATO as well.
Both of us ATOs.
Mm-hmm. So it came out last month. So
get your shirts.
Yeah, get your shirts. Great shirt. So you did that. Your first stint was 01 to when?
So I look at my Ole Miss experience as 3 full different college experiences. So I did the first one. I lived in the dorm my freshman year, and then I lived in the frat house my sophomore and junior year. And it was kind of the usual college thing. You live in the dorm, you live in the frat house, you do all that, like the first 4 years. Then I got into poker. Started playing in the ATO house my sophomore and junior year of college. We play like $5 games. That was when Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker in 03. And I've got that like really addictive personality. And I was playing like $5 games, like small stakes, but I just got obsessed with it. It was all I cared about. Read books, would go play up in Tunica, Mississippi at the Horseshoe, like playing low limit. So I was a finance major. My first year at Ole Miss, I made like a 3.3. Everything going well. And then I moved into the frat house, into the Valley, which is like the basement of the ATO house, and I threw up like a 1.25 my first semester, my sophomore year.
Oh, no shit.
It was not good. My mom almost pulled me out of school and made me go back to ULM in Monroe, but didn't, thankfully, even though I think she wished she did because how long it ended up taking. But once I got into the poker, like I was like half-assed in school and, wasn't really doing that well. It was kind of a rudderless ship. And then the night it kind of all changed. It was like April of 2006. I was just like a broke college kid playing poker for fun. And I'm hopping this $22 poker tournament on Party Poker. And I'd only played like 5 or 10 tournaments. I used to play like the one table sit and goes, whatever. And this tournament has 2,000, I remember exact numbers, 2,339 people in this $22 buy-in. And I just win the damn thing for like $10,300 off $22. And like, we've all been broke college kids. I had like $300 or $500 to my name. I thought $10K, I was a millionaire.
Yeah.
And I remember the next morning, I was so happy. I took all my friends to Como Steakhouse to celebrate the next day. But I called my mom that next morning. My mom was a big shot attorney, sent me to private schools growing up, did not want me to drop out of school and be a pro gambler.
So hold on, though. So this is 2006?
This is 06.
But you started in 01, though.
Yeah,
so you're already in college for like 5 years?
Yeah. This was like the rudderless ship college year. So this is the second year, by the way. This is era 2 of college. So I had my regular first few years hanging out with people my age.
Yeah.
And then there was this crew of Monroe kids I grew up with that also liked poker, and they were 3 years younger. And so I basically got to have their college experience too.
Okay.
So it was like my 4th, 5th year, I just started hanging out with them and all their friends. And so the second college experience was playing poker and doing all that with them. But then I was friends with all these younger guys.
Okay.
And did that. So that was my second college experience, was like the poker half-ass in school, kicking it with these Monroe buddies of mine.
So 01 to 06, how many credit hours would you say that you completed?
A lot. It was funny was I got pretty close. I got down to my last 30 or 40 and then just hit a wall. And then in 06, and that time I was taking 6 a semester and just playing poker kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I was going to say if you had 30, that's like a whole year's worth. So
yeah, but I had over 100 hours. I was close, but it was I just didn't have any motivation. Yeah. And then right when I hit that 10K, I was like, we're trying this poker, Mm-hmm. And I remember I called my mom the next day and told her I won that money, and she was I was thinking she'd be happy, and she was not happy.
She wishes that she didn't put that book on your pillow.
Yeah, well.
Maybe you don't play poker, you know.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
You're with Todd Graves opening up another Raising Cane's, and you could be in that business.
Shout out Cane's. But so basically, after I hit that poker win, I immediately just became a professional poker player. And that was all I did. I remember I had this phone call where Mom and I were yelling at each other. She's like, I'm cutting you off. And I was like, good, I don't need your money. And so I was kind of rudderless, just I was doing pretty good in poker, 06 to 08. But I kept half-assing the school thing. And finally I was like, look, I've been in Oxford 7 or 8 years. This didn't go anywhere. And I knew I wanted to move to New Orleans. I've been talking about it for years. And so I finally pulled the trigger on that and moved down there in 09. And lo and behold, what happens in 09? The Saints win the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And so I got to get down there and go to 8 games and lived in New Orleans, and then played a lot of poker at the Harrah's, and then played online.
Great casino, by the way.
Yeah,
one of my favorites in the country.
Yeah, they're fixing it up right now.
Are they? Nice.
Yeah, it's great. So I did that and would play the Southern poker circuit. I was one of the, I wasn't one of the best players in the South, but I was one of the better ones. Mm-hmm. And I'd play online poker and the live Southern poker, and that's all I did from 2009 to 2014. And I got really hot in 2010. I had a week in 2010 where I think I started the week. I remember I went to the Saints. So, quick Saints Super Bowl story. Went to the NFC Championship, went to 8 games, went Favre through the interception over the middle. Still maybe my favorite sporting moment ever at the end of the 4th quarter when the Vikings were driving to win.
Yeah.
And then the Vikings announced, this isn't Detroit, this is the Super Bowl, when he threw the pick. And so I'm playing World Series of Poker Tunica 10 days later, and I'm not even planning to go to the Super Bowl because I think I had 2 or 3K to my name. And then I get 5th in this $580 tournament in Tunica for $8K on Thursday. And right when I got the money, I just went home, booked a Memphis to Miami flight for Saturday. I actually got a Super Bowl ticket for $1,200 because it wasn't as bad back then. It was front row of the upper deck on the 5-yard line in Miami. Went to the Saints-Colts Super Bowl. Got to see the Saints win it with my own 2 eyes. The ambush onside kick with Morstead when Porter had the pick 6 on Peyton Manning to close it. And so I got that was always, my favorite sports memory. And then coming out of that, I had a buddy of mine, shout out Michael Rocco, big poker pro, came and hung out with me in New Orleans for a month or 2 and worked with me on my poker game. And I ran my 3 or 4K up to, probably 20, 25K, but doing good. And then this week happens in late April of 2010 that I still don't even believe is real. On Tuesday afternoon, I'm playing a $216 full tilt tournament back when full tilt poker was big. And it was a full tilt online poker series. It was a big series event. And it was a turbo with over 2,000 people in it. And I get down to one-on-one, and we make a deal heads up where I got 76,000, and the other guy took 76, and then we played for 4K, and then he beat me. So I hit 76K. I never hit a win like that. I mean, my God, I had a 20K roll, and then I just had 100 overnight. And then it was Jazz Fest week, and I went and saw Pearl Jam Saturday and Panic Thursday. And then Sunday, I rip another $60 online poker tournament for 15K more. So I had a week where I won 90,000, and it was Jazz Fest.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the most crazy week. And that was, and then from 2010, so that was when my poker career really was getting it to its peak, when I got my bankroll up to 6 figures. Mm-hmm. And then the government outlawed. So there's a day, April 15, 2011. The government was called Black Friday in the poker world. When you log on to the poker sites, it just has the Department of Justice logo, and they like seized them because they weren't going after the players. They were going after like Full Tilt Poker Stars because they're taking all the untaxed revenue to Isle of Man or God knows where. So online poker gets shut down like right as I'm on the edge of being a top 200-300 tournament player in the world. So I was like, okay, what do I do? And I was like, I'll just play live poker. And then I catch fire that summer in live poker. I had my best run ever in the World Series main event, my second time to play the main. I got 75th out of 7,000 people. Made day 6, cash for like 90,000, which is my biggest live poker cash. And then I got third in a Jacksonville, Florida 1,500 for like 53K, and then I got 12th in an Oklahoma tournament for 35K, like all in a row. I was back for those, so I didn't necessarily get all that money. But the point is I thought I was Phil Ivey at that point. I was like, oh, I could just go play these tournaments and take all this money like it's nothing. And it was an unrealistic long-term lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so I was just like traveling, living above my means. I wasn't playing enough cash games at Harris Nola. I should have been going in there 40 hours a week, just pounding that 1-3 game. I'd play like 10 when online was gone. And, I go from that hot in 2011 to, blow through a lot of that roll. And then the story I wanted to share on here was there's always like a rip. So everybody goes through this, your arc of life where you have like a ripples in the pond thing where if something happens, everything would have been different.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the World Series of Poker New Orleans main event in 2013. It was a 1,700 buy-in. I always wanted to win the NOLA main, obviously, with my NOLA ties. And there were like 680 people in it. And with 14 left, I had the huge chip lead. And it was like 240K to first. Huge one. Big, would have been the biggest win of my career. And I overplayed ace-jack suited on the final table bubble with 11 left against an aggressive player and like kind of punted like 40% of my stack to a guy with ace-queen. End up taking 8th for like 30K. But it actually ends up being a blessing because it was like if I'd have won that tournament, there's no way I go back to Ole Miss or get in sports media. If I'm winning 200K, I'm still a poker pro right now probably. Like if I'd have won that at that age at 30.
Yeah.
And that 8th ended up, I kind of blew that, got 8th, had a bad rest of the year in poker, and then in early 2014, I looked up, most of my bankroll was gone, I was kind of rudderless in New Orleans, I was partying too hard, and one of my best friends, a guy named Elliot Willard, who's the number 2 bartender at City Grocery in Oxford, which is like a huge, famous bar and restaurant.
Who's number 1?
Well, he's, shout out my buddy Cooney, is the manager, runs it.
Oh, they got like ranking systems for
no, he's like the manager.
Oh, okay.
So Elliot calls me. It's like April of 2014, and he was like, hey, he was going back to Ole Miss to finish his degree too. He's like, hey, man, you've been talking about going back. Like, you need to get out of New Orleans. You blew through your money. You're not really doing well.
Yeah.
And it was during the Hugh Freeze era when Ole Miss was good. Yeah. He's like, I got a 2-bedroom house right off the square in Oxford. Just get up here. We'll figure it out. And I was like, done.
So this is 2014?
Yeah. So like May 2014, I felt like I was like crawling up I-55 in like the fetal position back to Ole Miss, going back at 30. So I go back to Ole Miss, and I was there a year. I finished my finance degree. I worked a part-time job at Proud Larry's in the kitchen making salads and pizza for like $8 an hour. Eddie, it's a long special fall from 75th in the World Series main to making salads at Proud Larry's. But it was good for me because I hadn't had a job in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I went back, was a broke college kid, finished in May of 2015 with a 2.0000 on the nose. Literally, like you had to have an exact 2.0 to graduate.
Well, hold on. So let me stop you there because I'm trying to.
Yeah,
like I said, just you're a ball of yarn, Mintzy. Yeah. You know what I mean? Trying to make it all straight. So that 01 to 06 is the original Ole Miss stint, and then what's that 06 to 09?
So like I was in Oxford. That was when I was like playing poker, but living in Oxford. But I'd travel for poker, and I was kicking it with those.
But you weren't taking classes 06.
Maybe 3. I was taking like an occasional 3 or 6 hours.
Gotcha.
But not really.
So so all together from 01 to 09, that like 8-9 year stretch in college, 100 credit hours.
Yeah, but so I would say I didn't really take class. Like it was like 01 to 06 I took classes. At 07, 08, and 09, I was just playing poker.
You're just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, I was playing a lot of online poker.
And it fully funded. Like you didn't need another job. You weren't.
No, I was killing poker. I mean, like that was the thing. And then like 09 too, that was when the big financial crisis happened. And like so I was doing better than most people because that was when the markets tanked.
So you were essentially one of those guys where it was like, oh, whatever happened to that guy? It's like, well, He just plays poker now. Like
Yep.
he does. Like he just he stopped playing. He stopped going to school. He started getting into video gaming, and he flunked out.
Yep.
That was essentially you.
Yep. There was a whole generation of them off the Moneymaker.
Yeah. No, I remember.
Yeah, I was definitely one of them. I was really good at online poker. I was good at live, and I just that was what I did.
So when you went back in May of or fall of 14, how many hours? You said you need like 20 more hours?
Yeah, it was like 21, I think.
So you need like a year.
Yeah, and so basically I needed like a year. But there were the upper level finance classes, and I hadn't taken school for like 10 years. So I just went to I went in and set the tone immediately, and was just like, I went and told my teachers, like, look, I'm going to be here every day. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm going to show up every day.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think they all knew I was back trying to do well. And, like, I certainly didn't crush it, but I made C's.
But what was your bankroll at that point?
No, nothing. I mean, if I'm working at an $8 an hour Proud Larry's part-time job, I mean, I was broke. Like, I had to get my mom to help me pay rent when I went back.
What was that? What would you say you won for 7th place in that NOLA?
The NOLA main, it was like $30K.
30K.
But, like, the way poker works is I was back for all those tournaments.
Mm-hmm. And
so I actually didn't get a lot of that money because I had investors. And so a lot of that run in 2011 I told you about, I got like probably half that money.
Okay.
And so, but the thing was, the story I told you about 2010 when I won the 76K online, I got all of that one.
Okay, so that was all you.
Yeah.
So you're with backers and everything. That 30K is not as much as it seems.
No, and I was down to the backers, and so I like didn't really get any of that.
Yeah, and so you're at the point where you're like, hey, I can't.
I could just tell it wasn't going the right way. Like I just. I was not managing my life correctly. It was, I was just overdoing the NOLA thing and traveling. And, the thing with life's funny, okay? I've been in 2 ruts in my entire life.
Well, how old are you in 14 then?
I was 30.
You're 30?
Yeah.
And you go back to Ole Miss. Now, did you feel like a loser?
Not really, because the thing was, though, I would have felt like a loser, except my buddy that was in the same spot was living with me.
Okay.
And so, like, we were in the same situation.
Yeah.
And so that made it seem a lot more normal. It wasn't like I was living with some 21-year-old.
Uh-huh.
I actually loved it. I had a blast. And then I was friends, I got to be friends with this bartender crew at Round Table on the square back when I used to drink, and I'd go in there and party all the time. It was fun.
And there was never like you see people from the past, because I'd imagine that'd be pretty jarring if someone who went there with you at 01 and saw you there at 30.
Yeah, I'd see people. Yeah, it was a little jarring. Well, it was jarring when I'd be working the salad line at Proud Larry's and people from the past come in there and see me doing that.
Yeah, and like,
but there's no shame. Here's the thing with that though. At first, I felt shame on it, like, oh man, I was this big shot poker pro. But man, there's no shame in ever having a job.
No, not at all. And I'm not trying to shame anyone.
No, you're not. Yeah.
But it's just the reality of like how people feel when you get into a situation like that.
It was a little weird.
That's not how you want. That's not how anyone would probably draw it up.
No.
So that's why I ask, because it's, I don't know. That's just the reality.
Yeah, no, it was a different deal.
Yeah.
And so I went back, finished it in a year, and then I had no idea what I was going to do after that, but I knew I needed to get out of Oxford because I don't want to be like a college townie. Like I'm 30, 31 at that point. You don't want to just linger around in a college town.
So you finished 1 year.
1 year.
Banged it all out.
Done.
Mm-hmm.
And then that fall, I actually was still hanging out in Oxford in fall of 15. That was the year we won at Bama. Really good football season. And in October that year, I went back for my buddy's grandfather's funeral in Monroe, Louisiana. And I remember very, very big moment was I'm leaving the funeral, my buddy Sean Fox, who does sports radio in North Louisiana. And he hits me with like, what do you think about moving to Shreveport? I'm like, what's in Shreveport? The first thing that flashed in my head was like the Horseshoe Bossier. So I was like, well, I know I can play poker. But he's like, the station wants to hire me to do their sports radio, but I have a wife and kid. I'm tied into Monroe Ruston, so I can't do it. But I'm going to recommend you for this job. And I had like some sports, like very little sports radio experience. But he's like, look, you've got a good, funny personality. You know a lot about sports, so I think you'd be naturally talented at sports radio. Mm-hmm. So I go interview for this job, and then I get it. So I get a 3-hour radio show from 3 to 6 every day. And
This is what, 16? So
first day was December 7th of 2015.
Okay, so you're like 32 at the time?
Yeah, 32. So I remember the first day I have like 10 pages of notes, and I'm so nervous going on the air. And I have Sean on the line just in case I bomb. And I'm like talking so fast that like the show starts at 2 and I have to go to Sean at like 2:04 on the line. Just because like the radio deal, and you're used to it now because obviously you talk on camera a lot. And it's a thing that, like anything, the more you do it, the more comfortable.
And it was a solo show?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
And I also moved to Shreveport, knew 8 people. So it wasn't like I had like connections to get coaches and play. I mean, I had to just totally.
How far is Shreveport from Monroe?
Hour and a half.
Okay.
I-20. So Shreveport's like on the East Texas, Northwest Louisiana border. So it's like a Cowboys Saints melting pot. Dak Prescott's from over there too. So anyway, I'll be honest. I sucked at sports radio the first 9 months. I mean, I was horrible because 3 hours was so long. At first I would have like beat writers from schools and stuff, but then I realized like when I have like a beat writer reporting on spring practice, I'm like bored as hell talking to him during the segment.
Yeah.
And so if I'm bored, then the listeners are going to be bored.
Yep.
So what I decided to do, and this is something Barstool does well, is like I'm just going to make this thing my own thing. So Tyler Moody, shout out my producer for Wake Up Mintzy, he became my co-host, and that's how I got to know him in 2016. We had the first fantasy football hour in Louisiana. I would start doing sports gambling, lines. I'd talk about community events, restaurants, music. I just was like, hey, if I'm interested in it, we're going to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of took off. And then I ended up being the voice for 5A high school for 4 years, airline. I miss calling the high school games. I love doing that on Friday nights. And, had a pretty good run in Shreveport. Did the show 4 years. By the time year 3 and year 4, I was making a decent living. I mean, my first year in 2016, I made like $14K. I mean, I had like nothing because the way it worked was I was getting hourly money, but then I get commission on sales. Well, I didn't know anybody at first, so it took time. But then I got let go
because you were $14,000 a year you were making.
Yeah, the first year because my sales were low first year. Then I ended up making, I was making like 60 or 70 by the end of it.
Oh, nice,
good.
Yeah.
So I get let go right as COVID happens when the marketing budgets get slashed. And that was early.
And this is an ESPN affiliate, correct?
No, they were affiliated with CBS Sports.
Oh, okay. So CBS Sports, Shreveport, and 4 years you're banging out the 3 to 6 show.
Yeah.
Dude, that feels like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was fun. I was the afternoon sports radio guy in that community.
Yeah,
so it was fun. Everybody knew me. Like what I found this is an interesting thing, like building a business. Like cold calling people just sucks. It never works. So the thing that really helped me build it, my dad was always a big, like, you support your local events in your community. Yeah. So I would just get out and go to everything in the community and get my name out. And that was how I got all my business. Mm-hmm. But it was a good, I had a really good run. Before COVID, I thought I was going to be in Shreveport till December that year. I knew there was a 4 or 5 year deal. I'd done everything I could do there. You know what I mean? It kind of had a sense of finality. So COVID hits. I get let go. And I'm like, okay, what am I going to do during COVID? The Shreveport deal was over, and South Louisiana was getting rocked by COVID because Mardi Gras. A lot of people got COVID. New Orleans got hit real hard at the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, screw it. What am I going to do? I'm moving back to Oxford, Mississippi yet again for the 3rd time. And I just played. It was like weird. It was this sense of like deja vu because all I was doing during COVID was playing online poker in Oxford in 2020, just like it was like 2006. Yeah. And I was like, I feel like I've come a long way as a person, but have I come nowhere at all? It was like a weird deja vu thing, but it was a really good stretch where I chilled. And that was kind of when I quit boozing. And I did the Oxford deal for a few months and then caught a break. In July, I got hired by ESPN Baton Rouge, which was really the job I'd been gunning for because Shreveport Bossier was like, I kind of equivalent, like that was like single A-ish, and then Baton Rouge is like ESPN Baton Rouge, just LSU's flagship, one of the best radio stations in the South. That was honestly the job I was gunning for. Barstool wasn't even in my mind. Uh-huh. And I was in Baton Rouge for 3 months, building it, feeling good about it, and then the Barstool thing came out of the sky.
So you were what host? What was your time slot?
So I was the number 2 guy on the number 4 show, 6 to 8 p.m. So I was on the ESPN Baton Rouge depth chart. I was towards the bottom.
Yeah, but you're still there.
Oh, no doubt. And like also everybody down there is LSU people, and so I was a little bit of a different lane, doing more of the gambling stuff because I wasn't an LSU guy.
Yeah, that's still really impressive considering how hard it is to get those jobs, and considering that with all candidness, you kind of fell ass backwards into it from your buddy you saw at a funeral.
Yeah. Right? Well, the thing was, what got me to ESPN Baton Rouge was I was a part of Off the Bench with T-Bob Hebert, who just came through the office a few weeks ago, and Jordy Claude. I was the gambling picks guy from 2017 to 2020. I was like, I had a morning segment during football season, and that's what got my name out there that got me that job. And shout out to Jimmy Ott, who's still been there like 30 years. He's the one who hired me.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was down there, and I was excited. I thought the Baton Rouge deal was going to be a 3 to 5 year deal. I did, because that was literally when I got hired by ESPN Baton Rouge. I mean, like, I can't tell you how happy I was. Like, I have so much respect for Guarantee Media and that station and how big they are in the South. Literally, Barstool wasn't even a thought.
Yeah.
And, I was looking forward to building my Baton Rouge career. And then, lo and behold, I rip a hottie toddy after Ole Miss beats Kentucky. And
you got hired here.
Yeah, Dave and Big Cat see it. And
what was the plan with your finance degree?
There never was a plan at all.
Never.
No, it was just like I was so far into it.
You just wanted to finish it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like, obviously, once you just get any type of degree, it opens you up to a lot of jobs.
My dad was a financial consultant, too.
Gotcha.
And so I did an internship with him one summer.
So where's he at?
So he is, speaking of that,
but with you, like, is he like...
Oh, we're cool. We're close.
But at this time, like, you're...
Oh, it was tough. They didn't want my parents weren't about the pro gambling life.
Yeah.
I still, like, I was on speaking terms with them. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't have a relationship, but
they were obviously very concerned about you.
Yeah, they really got concerned when I went to Mexico for 6 months to play online poker in 2013, because they really didn't like that.
Yeah, I would say that's concerning.
Yeah, but
so like insurance, anything? Like, did you have anything?
Not really, no.
No? Did you ever have like anything that?
I had my car. Well, I had a car got stolen from Memphis in 2008. I had limited liability on it, but it wasn't really covered that much. That happened from Midtown. But, yeah, so it was an interesting time for sure. But, like, they love, obviously they're ecstatic with how this has turned out now.
Yeah.
And shout out my dad. This will be fun to share on here because Chicago. My dad turned 75 this summer, and he turned 75 in August. And my sister and I read him the Riot Act on it. My dad raised us on the Rolling Stones, big Stones fan, and he's coming up here. And my sister and dad and I, my brother-in-law, we're going to Rolling Stone Soldier Field June 27th for his 75th birthday.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then I'm going to bring him through the act because he's nuts.
Nice. That'll be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Mintzy, I'm so fascinated by this 01 through 14 period of your life. Yeah, because like school and poker, like, to me, it just can't be the only thing that's preoccupying you. Like, what's a typical day? Is it honestly like you're just playing poker for 12 hours?
I would play at night. It's a poker thing because the online poker was big at night. The day stuff wasn't as good. So I usually would I'd play like 6 p.m. to like 2 a.m. I mean, I played big hours back then. That's all I did. And I would I was on that late night shift where I'd get up at like noon.
Yeah.
Go get some lunch, do some errands, whatever.
Yeah.
And then just repeat it.
And that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I was still, I would still go to parties with that younger crew.
Yeah.
I ran around with them, and I'd travel a lot for poker.
Hey, let's take a break from talking to Mintzy to talk about ChevyDriveChicago.com. Summer road trip season is here. It's here. You're going to be driving to Michigan. You're going to be driving to Iowa. You're going to be driving downstate. You're going to be driving to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, wherever it is. Make sure you know that the perfect time to buy a new Chevy is now. The SUV lineup in the new Silverado truck has all the space you need to comfortably get to where you're going. You're going to have your bag set. You're going to have your bocce balls. You're going to want your fishing rods. You're going to need it all. So look into that Silverado. Look into their SUV lineup. ChevyDriveChicago.com has the latest offers on all vehicles and can help you find your local Chevy dealer. Every Chevy is a #1 pick. ChevyDriveChicago.com is the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. All you have to do is go to ChevyDriveChicago.com to learn more. And yeah, like I said, make sure you're not the person that's on the side of the road, sitting there waiting for AAA. Make sure you buy dependable. Make sure you buy a Chevy. One more time, ChevyDriveChicago.com. Go there to learn more. Is there like regret you have about any of that, or
I think looking back on it, the only thing I regret was because I had this false fallacy on life. I defined everything but what my bank account was, and like trying to chase the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And it was always like, oh, when I win this 50K or I win this 100K, my life will be great. And that's not how life works. Mm-hmm. It's Kanye West said it best. It's like heaven money ain't everything,
Careful.
but not. I know heaven money ain't everything, but not heaven it is.
Yeah.
And it's like when you don't have it, you're obsessed with it. But life's, as I've learned this getting older, life's about your relationships, your experiences, and that stuff. And like the poker thing, and I love that I still play on the side now, but it's like an empty chase. Mm-hmm. It's just everything's money. Everything's like, what have you done lately? So when I look back on that, I wasn't I was not as not saying I'm like the most health conscious now, but I'm in a lot better shape now than I was then. I didn't have like a balanced, healthy lifestyle at all. All I care about is poker.
So yeah, because that's a long time. Like, do you feel like you wasted like some prime years of your life?
I don't know if I wasted it because I did really good with the poker. It wasn't like I wasn't successful.
Yeah.
And I kind of just think it was all part of the journey. And I think the best thing I did was go back to school, because like that restarted, like coming out of the poker world, I was so desensitized to money and living in like an alternate reality that being a broke college kid for a year, working a part-time job and finishing was like the recenter moment.
Yeah.
And then, and then my career kind of started out of that. So I actually don't regret it too much. The only thing I regret was just not taking better care of myself, like running and working and that stuff during it. That's the only thing I regret.
Yeah, I mean, it clearly has all worked out. And everyone talks about, like, oh, this guy's story into Barstool is so cool. This one, yours is pretty cool too. Like that's such a long period. I'm sure a lot of people would have just assumed that was the path for Mintz. Like you were just going to be the guy playing poker all night and, right?
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting. It feels like maybe that's why I feel like I'm a lot younger. I feel like I'm a lot younger than the 41 I'm about to turn on Friday. But it's kind of like my actual career started when I was 31. So it's kind of like, in a way, I haven't been doing this 20 years. I mean, I started that radio show in December of 2015. And so we're like 9-10 years in. Into the media thing. And so, that's a lot of years in the poker thing. Like
for sure.
I mean, literally from 20, I was pretty much from 06 to 14. I mean, literally from 23 to 30. It's just this huge block that was poker. But, I'd say it's worked out pretty well.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, it's just, I'm a gambler too. So I could see what you mean where you get caught up in that. Like that. Even just sitting here and being like, oh, the life of cards. Like, even though I know how unglamorous it can be, you could still see that like bright side of how good it would be at some points too.
In your 20s, it seems like a sexy thing.
For sure.
But then you get in your 30s and that roller coaster, just like, man.
You watch Mississippi Grind.
Oh, yeah. Like, and I've been to a lot of those casinos too. That Mississippi Grind was very realistic.
Oh, yeah.
Going through Tunica and New Orleans.
Yeah.
And, that was a kind of it was pretty realistic portrait of like what the grind and South thing is.
Totally. And then, so obviously, like you said, we touched on it a little bit, if you don't know Mintzy, you were celebrating an Ole Miss win. Dave saw that video, hired you on the spot, and then obviously the rest is history. At Barstool, you have the persona of a guy who always makes mistakes and messes up.
That's what my whole life's been like, so it's not like a fake thing.
Okay.
Like my whole life, like I've always been like a lightning rod personality where like I just find controversy, drama, like everything I do is like I'm a high energy guy and I feel like everything I do is always magnified, good or bad.
So like third grade, it was like, could you believe that this kid Ben did?
Yeah, so I have a great one on that front. So I was like the fat kid with glasses growing up. And this is my funniest childhood one. So I shared this to the Laugh Factory too. So my mom, bless my mother, big time attorney. She was on the vestry, which runs the church and school, private school I went to, Grace Episcopal.
Do you have siblings?
I have a younger sister and 2 nephews and a niece. She lives in Highlands, North Carolina.
Cool.
Mountains. She's got it figured out. So anyway, so I have all these board games in my closet. I'm like 12. And there's a big garage sale at the church. So without knowing it, my mom comes and just gets all these board games out of my room. Innocent enough. You don't think anything of that. So she sells the board games get sold on this like Saturday at the church. And all of a sudden there's like a mutiny in the church on Monday or Tuesday because I had like 5 Playboys in these board games and they got sold at the church garage sale and I'd gotten them from my dad. In other news, my dad and mom are no longer married. But that was a really funny that was a really funny childhood one.
Where it's like, how do you not take those out before you?
Well, I didn't know she was taking the games and she didn't know.
Yeah, there was no.
But that was pretty funny. But my mother went through a lot with me. There's no.
Yeah, but you've always been like the knock over the cake at a wedding type of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been that guy. It's always been like, can you believe what Mintz did? I've always been that guy.
Yeah. That's interesting, and
I'm so glad I came to a company where it's like
it's a positive.
Yeah,
yes.
Because like I could never. You look at like other media companies that are like buttoned up, people in suits. Like none of this stuff would be tolerated.
I've had someone in the company respectfully, and the way he was talking about it, he wasn't shitting on you or anything, but he said he compared you to like a type of monster who all of his mistakes only feed him and make him stronger. It's kind of interesting and fascinating how that is for you.
No, look, the thing about it,
right?
Yeah, no, it is, and the thing about it is like, I mean, it's Big Cat says all the time. It's all the unintentional stuff that's good.
Yeah.
Anytime I like try to do something, it's like not even funny. It's just when I unintentionally screw up.
And has that always been the case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been going on.
So like even when you're with down in Baton Rouge, T-Bob and all those guys, like is it always like they're waiting for moments where
there's always something.
Mintzy knocks over his coffee?
There's always something.
Yeah, it was always like that.
Yeah, it's always something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always been something. It's just I've got this personality type where I have a photographic memory for numbers. I mean, I can remember phone numbers if I see them, like for the rest of my life. For poker, that's why I was good at poker. I could do mental math on the spot. I can calculate odds. I've got a great brain for that stuff, but I have no self-awareness. And so, like, I can't, like, without an iPhone map, I'm screwed. You know, I'm a crappy cook. I can't put anything together, like, engineering-wise. And so, like I'm an idiot, but I'm smart.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's weird to manage.
Do you have like any type of philosophical side?
Yeah. I'm big and I believe in God. I'm a Christian for sure. And, I definitely do. I feel like I'm very blessed and grateful for all the relationships I have with friends and family and all the blessings in my life. And, I think that's where a lot of the positive energy stuff comes from. I try to look at the glass as always half full. And even, Lord knows I've had a lot of bad stuff happen to me, but somehow it always ends up being a blessing long term. You just never see it short term. And it's like, I think I'm on the annoyingly positive side, but, I think that's just how I choose to live my life. I believe it's like a little bit of a hippie belief. So we all share the same world, and there's like, I don't know how many million or billions of people in the world. I'm not sure, whether it's 7 billion or something. But we all share the same world, and we're all like irrelevant in the world, but the energy we pass through the space in the world magnifies. And so like sending that positive energy, it just goes everywhere, and it can just bounce off people and magnify through space. And I think it like can take off like lightning, and that's kind of how I try to live my life.
And is this stuff you think about a lot? Like, are you thinking a lot, or are you, and this is truly, I'm asking, is it more like a simpleton mind, like, all right, I'm gonna wake up, go to work, go home, eat, go to bed?
No, it's pretty so like when it comes to work stuff, it's pretty like I'm very impulsive. It's pretty simpleton.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like something will happen. You know, I never know what it is. I mean, every day is a new exciting adventure.
But that's like, it's kind pretty, of the beauty of you.
No, it's very simpleton when it comes to the work stuff, And I will say this. I am, one of the things I do a lot is get the calendar stuff out. Like I'm always figuring out the Mintzy tour stuff. Like I'm really big on like figuring out where I can like do poker or shows or sporting events or, I'm always trying to figure out where 2 or 3 things are at once. Like I'm really big on the planning calendar stuff. So there actually is more logic to that than people realize. But I do keep it pretty simple with the,
Yeah. Just wake up and whatever the day brings it to you, it brings it to you.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I'm not looking to get this out of this day. I'm just ready to take on whatever throws at me.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with Barstool. You literally never know what's going
to happen. You're right. Yeah. You're right. But that's kind of what I was wondering, because just you're an interesting...
I mean, I do have a calendar, though. Like every Sunday night or every Sunday, I'll do my weekly calendar with like every day, like, shows, interview, what I need to do, like exercise. I try to have like a weekly calendar, and then I've got like a yearly calendar with all the big dates. So there actually is a little method to it.
Yeah. No, I mean, there has to, for how much you travel.
Yeah, and how much well, Barstool, we're so busy. You got to remember everything.
Totally, yeah. But you're a fascinating guy to observe. Like you're someone who I'm always like, what is going on in that brain?
I'm wondering the same thing.
So it's interesting. And, your mistakes that you've had throughout the years, a lot of people are, quick to be like, oh, he's just a dumbass. He doesn't.
I mean, it's kind of true, but.
Okay, so you think you're a dumbass?
I lack self-awareness.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm extremely smart though when it comes to numbers and poker and that kind of stuff. But I'm common sense wise, I'm a complete moron. I'm totally comfortable saying that. There's a lot of evidence to point to that theory as well.
Okay. And is there anything that bothers you in that kind of realm?
I mean, obviously, I would have preferred to not get into the situation I got into last year.
Yeah.
But man, I just try to roll with it. I think it's just one of those things of Barstool. Everything's going to be publicly scrutinized. And it's the old take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like I got pretty damn thick skin. You know, and I mean, I take a, whew, I mean, I see comment. I feel like 70 to 80% of people like me, but the 20 to 30 that don't are very outspoken. But nobody's really in the middle, so at least people are always talking, you know. It's not like an irrelevant thing.
Yeah.
But I just, like, laugh at it, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
people call me crazy stuff all the time, and I just laugh at it. But what's interesting with that, and you deal with it too at Barstool, man, all that social media stuff's, like, not even real life. Like, every time – I've only had somebody get in my face calling me a tool in real life, like, twice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, it's happened a couple times. But, like, it's all, like, the keyboard warrior stuff. And so it's almost like – it's reality, but it's not.
Yeah, it's almost like you're able to turn it off and then.
Yeah, and I just laugh at it. I mean, I had somebody say I had fetal alcohol syndrome the other day. I was just like, man.
Yeah.
But they're ruthless on the internet. But, I mean.
So nothing really bothers you. You take it with a grain of salt.
Well, I think when I look at it, I mean, nobody likes just getting trashed all the time.
Sure.
But I know the relationships. I mean, I know I'm loved in Louisiana, Mississippi, and I have great relationships in this company. So as long as I have those things going for me, I think I'm going to be okay.
You could see that positive side.
Yeah.
Do you struggle with understanding the job at Barstool?
Yes. The lines are blurred. And that's definitely because the thing about Barstool, people ask all the time is like this script, nothing is scripted here. Everything is organic.
Mm-hmm.
Situations get blown up a lot, you know. But, like, the Barstool thing and, like, recently, like, the traveling thing, I do struggle a little bit with it because I feel like what I do well is pour gas on the fire and, you know, a lot of clicks and getting drama. But there's, like, the fine line of, like, doing that to be relevant versus being productive day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think I've struggled with that. And I think I've got more of an understanding. I had a good talk with Dan about it recently. And I think there's a middle ground for both. To where, like, you know, I love working in this office. I love Chicago. So, you know, I think the middle ground on it now is I'm always going to be here midweek. And then if I travel, I can, you know, do the occasional long weekend and do content on that. But, like, I'm going to focus on being here during the week. And that's a happy compromise and lucky to get to do it.
Yeah. No, because that's a lot of people do. Because you get dropped off in this place and it really is sink or swim. And a lot of people are asked to do things that they've never done before, because when you get dropped off in content here, you're not, you know, say if you're just a blogger, like you might turn into someone who's got started writing and you might be doing radio. Then it's like, hey, guess what? Now you're a merchandiser where you have to come up with a t-shirt. Now you're
watch salesman.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't like the way.
No, you know, it develops. Actually, that stuff I haven't struggled too bad with. Like I feel like I can get, I don't even, you know, we have such talented people here. Like, I don't even consider myself anywhere near, like, our top guys. But I do feel like I can get thrown into a lot of situations, and at least, like, you know, even if I screw up, it's funny. Like, I can get by and, like, that stuff. So, like, the being in the office day to day, I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah. Like, you know, and that's a big part of Barstool, like they say, like those carnival characters. And that's, obviously, you would consider yourself one of them, right?
No doubt. And I got lucky, too, on that. Like, Dave Portnoy, being a Massachusetts guy that went to Michigan, he probably hadn't been exposed to like as many of the Southern characters in his life, and he's obviously got great ones here, especially Brandon.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm like a cartoon character to him. You know, he just probably hadn't seen. There's a lot of hilarious, funny Southern characters. They're everywhere. He just probably hadn't met the most of them.
Yeah, very much so. And that's so cool, and you got to feel incredibly fortunate to be like you were the one that was chosen.
Yeah, hit lightning. And shout out like.
Pretty cool.
Me and Brandon Walker go at it all the time, but there's no chance I'm here if he didn't do well here. Mm-hmm. You know, him coming here and, you know, his path to success with the state Ole Miss stuff was directly what led to me being here.
Totally. And then I you know, obviously, I hate to get into it, but we'll get into the incident last year.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not even like there's no hate to getting into anything. I'll talk about it.
Yeah, so last year, if you're unfamiliar, Mintzy sang a lyric.
Yeah, I was reading a rap song off my phone and slipped on a lyric, the one you obviously can't slip on. And, you know, I knew it immediately. Anybody that saw the clip, I turned white. I instantly apologized. You know, I mean, anybody that knows my character knows that's not what I'm about. Mm-hmm. But still, it's a mistake you can't make. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it, especially in this day and age. And so got fired. Like, it was like a Monday morning. I had like a panic attack for an hour or two. I mean, I was not doing well. I had one of my friends come over, shout out Jeff Nesbitt, came over and like talked to me and like checked on me, because I was really, really, really upset. And then I kind of calmed down some Monday afternoon. And then I sent Erica, our CEO, like a real buttoned up email Tuesday, like 5 paragraphs. Like, it's such a dream to work at Barstool. And I know I just landed you in a pile of crap. And I'm just so sorry. And obviously I didn't mean to do this. And she sent me back like, you made a really stupid effing mistake. Obviously you didn't mean to do it. Don't ever do it again. Which made me think, okay, she's fighting for me and I'm not going to get fired. Mm-hmm. And then Wednesday morning, Dave called me and was just like, hey, I don't know what Penn's going to do, but I fought really hard for you. And right when he said that, I'm like, I'm getting fired. Yeah. He was washing his hand, and you could tell he felt terrible about it. And then Wednesday afternoon, they let me know I was getting let go. And obviously wasn't thrilled about it, especially with the nature of it, especially with the way, anybody knows, like, I curse less on camera than almost anybody in this company other than Jake Marsh. And, it was a really tough deal, because especially like everywhere you look on the internet, all of a sudden that's what I'm associated with. And I've lived my whole life trying to be positive and good to people.
Yeah.
But also, I kept the glass half full thing with it. And, I thought, my first immediate reaction was I better get my poker game sharp because I'm not going to be able to get a job for 5 years after it. And it actually worked the other way. I had a bunch of job offers immediately.
Who offered you?
I don't really want to say on here, but
media companies or what?
Yeah, I had media. I had one pretty big media company, and then I had a lot of like regional stuff. And I have good. I could always go back to South Louisiana or North or Mississippi or Louisiana, do radio, all that stuff. But then I had one pretty big offer.
Do you not want to say just because it's?
I just out of respect to them. I don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah. But I got a lot of interest immediately. And that made me feel good because I was like, if I'm getting job interest after this, like, I must be doing pretty good in life because I thought I would,
You thought your life was over.
Well, I thought I was just going to have to play poker.
Yeah.
But
was that like one of the darkest moments of your life, would you say?
It was really dark Monday morning. Right after it happened, those couple hours were dark. After that, I talked myself off the ledge. Yeah. Because I was like, you know what? I've been good to people. People know what my character is. It's going to be okay. And then, the Mintz, the gin in me, was like, well, if you're going to get fired, do it during Jazz Fest. And I just like went off and just raged the entire week. During Jazz Fest, I was out till like 3 a.m., like 5 nights in a row going to shows. And the funny thing was I had buddies that were my attorneys, but just friends that represented me. And they were like, you can't say a word until you get your severance package signed because this is too hot to touch. You don't want to say anything negative about your situation and blow up any relationships. So I went ghost on social media for like 10 or 11 days till I got my Barstool severance figured out. And the silence was deafening online because everybody was freaking out, worried about me because I wasn't saying anything. But I was really just doing it. Like I was actually doing okay. It was just I didn't want to say anything because my attorneys told me not to. Mm-hmm. And then I reached a severance agreement with Barstool on the Friday, like May 11th. And then Dave Portnoy calls me on Saturday, May the 12th, with the brick watch idea. When I was in North Carolina, I remember I was up in I was visiting my sister. I was up walking around waterfalls in the Highlands, North Carolina, when he called me with the brick watch idea. And I immediately was just like, Dave, you're my guy. You found me. And for you to even stick with me after this, like, I'm in no matter what, And then we just held back on announcing it until my 40th birthday and did it with the Gleason statue because I thought that would be cool. But I knew from May 12th to May 31st I was coming back. And he told me he's like, honestly, I don't even really expect you to sell watches. I just want you to just do content like you do with Barstool and just tag Brick Watch and build awareness for the brand. And I was like, done. But then we actually sold a pretty good bit of them. And Dave was happy with the overall year effort. I think I sold enough in a year to like cover my salary.
Okay.
So he, and then was doing the brick watch deal. And then I got hired. I took the Poker Go job for 6 weeks before the brick watch thing for summer last year. So I went out and covered World Series of Poker for my friends at Poker Go because I thought, like, when I was evaluating everything, I was like, this is perfect. Let's take a 6-week summer job to make some money, play World Series while we're figuring out the next step because it's such a big arc in my career. And then I got the brick watch thing. And then, man, it was like cosmic on August 8th and Dave got the company back. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know. And then my buddy calls me from Baton Rouge, is like, I'm watching CNBC and Dave just bought Barstool back. Are you getting rehired? I was like, what? I was like, I guess maybe so. And then 5 minutes later, Dave Portnoy calls me. That says, hey, you ready to come back? And that was the video of me banging a car and driving on I-20 in Louisiana.
Oh, it was a classic Mintzy. What? I love that.
And then I end up, Big Cat's like, hey, come to Chicago tomorrow for Yak. And then he sits me down and he's like, hey, I want you, do what you want with your life. Your job's not on the line. But having said that, you need to move up here and be a part of this office. And you'd be a fool not to. And I acted like it was my recruiting visit to enjoy it. But like the second he said it, I'm like, all right, I'm moving to Chicago.
So what was the day of the incident?
May the 1st.
May the 1st.
And I got fired May the 3rd. I got rehired August 8th.
Oh, so it actually was the 1st of the month.
Yeah, that was why I did it.
I just thought you were just singing songs.
No, I did it. It was because the first of the month.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But it was not funny.
Yeah.
We really whiffed on that one.
So we're literally sitting here basically a year after everything.
Yeah. It feels like it was 5 years ago now.
Right?
The amount of stuff that has happened. And it also felt like the moving to Chicago, and, Big Cat laughs at me about the second act stuff, but it felt like turning 40 and that scandal and all that was the end of the first half of life.
I mean, it was a big deal, man.
Yeah,
it was in the New York Post.
Oh, everything. I was on Dave talking about me on Tucker Carlson.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, I was in the London Daily Mail. I mean, it was dude, it was everywhere.
Some fucking dude who was holed up in Oxford for 15 years playing poker was in the London Daily Mail.
Yeah, dude. It was insane.
Unbelievable, Mintzy.
Yeah, and so it felt like the Chicago thing and getting rehired was the beginning of the second act deal, and the moving up here was just a total restart. And I went through a lot last year, not just the scandal. I lost 2 people I was close to. Like a good friend of mine died in a car wreck. I lost a mentor of mine pretty young to cancer. I had some other personal. I had a lot of stuff happen to me last year in a few months, man. And I'm honestly just sitting here really proud of how resilient I was the whole time.
Yeah.
I just was like, I got rained on for about 2 or 3 months, and I was kind of in a bad middle spot for a little bit. And, I feel like the live music cures, but I remember I went to Red Rocks late last June and kind of cleared it out. And, it was like, you're not a victim. Don't be a bitch. Everybody goes through stuff in life. It's all how you respond to it. You're so lucky to have every relationship and everything you have. Like, you can't do this woe is me crap. And I just came out of that and, kept rolling.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, it would be pretty damn hard for a person like yourself not to be a little philosophical about life, considering the highs and lows you've been through. So
there were some lows last year, but it feels like now you never. Honestly, actually, I'm not even gonna say anything because I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah,
feels like I got through the hard part, and now it's, kind of heading downhill in the right direction. But who knows?
Yeah. Well, if it's not, then that section will be clipped of this podcast by someone, I'm sure. But I hope you're right.
Hopefully not old takes exposed.
For your sake, yes.
But so far, Chicago, so good, man. Love being up here.
Good.
Love this office. Love the camaraderie. Really enjoying living in West Loop.
Yeah.
The Chicago deal, I like it 100 times more than the New York deal. It's not even like 5 times. It's like the Midwest people are approachable here, man. People are friendly, and that's a Southern. That's how I am too.
Yeah.
And then, Chicago's definitely not cheap, but it's nothing compared to New York.
Yeah.
Nothing. And so, quality of life's way better because the money. Love the history, the food scene, the music scene, the sports. Chicago's got it all.
Yeah.
And I guess we got lucky because I thought, everybody said it was kind of a milder winter this year. It
was pretty easy.
It wasn't too bad. And then now we get to the Chicago summer, and man, I think everything's pinging off.
Good, man. I'm happy to hear that. Happy to hear that all. I guess final questions during that whole fiasco. Did anybody reach out that was like, oh, whoa, didn't expect that, or was?
Oh, a lot. Bunch of people reaching out. And a lot of, I was keeping up with a good bit of Barstool people.
Yeah.
Like Brandon Walker gets mad when I share this, but he was checking on me every week.
Yeah.
He was, because he called me right when it happened, and he was like, you're not going to get fired. It's going to be okay. And then I got fired. He's like, well, I guess I was wrong. But he felt some empathy on it. But yeah, a lot of people were checking on me, It made me realize, dude, it kind of shows you in life, though, man, whenever you're going through a bad time and everybody's got your back, you know you're doing pretty good.
For sure.
That could have been a lot of people could have been walking away at that point.
Totally. Anyone of note, like anyone like a random one, or I don't know if you want to share that or not.
I don't know. I mean, there was just a lot of just media people around the country,
Yeah.
you know, but it was a lot of people checking on me for sure. Because everybody knew, like, man, the week before I'd done that 10K and raised like $50K for families fighting child cancer 4 days before it.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like, I'll be honest, I feel like I got the benefit of the doubt on that whole deal that a lot of people wouldn't have gotten. I think anybody that followed me for a few years knew me and knew what I was about, and also, honestly, because I screw up all the time too, you know, I think they knew it was just an honest mistake.
Yeah.
But it was, you know, I feel the thing I felt the worst about when it happened wasn't even me. It was the Ole Miss thing, because the Ole Miss, Mississippi Pass stuff. I was like, the last thing I ever want to do is like not represent Ole Miss well, and so that really would. But they knew it was a mistake too, and still have a great relationship with the school.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. And anything else in that moment, like that you remember that you never touched on, or?
It was just that panic attack thing. Those 2 hours, like, I mean, I'm telling you, from about 9 a.m. to noon, I was not well.
Like you're like on the ground, or like?
Oh, I wasn't on the ground, but just like calling people, like, you know, just I got to talk to people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But it calmed down that afternoon, and even when I got told I got fired, I had a sense of peace.
Yeah.
You know, and people were like surprised. The funniest thing was I texted Big Cat. I was at Joe Russo's Almost Dead that Thursday night, and I was like, J-Rad's the best dead band. And he's like, the whole internet's waiting on you to tweet for every word, and you're just texting me about the dead band. I'm like, yeah. I mean, that's precisely what I'm doing. But yeah, no, it was a good experience. And then like now also, you know, I'm enjoying building Wake Up Mintzy up here. Thanks to you and Chief for coming on. Shout out Dude Wipes for sponsoring it. Please give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram on there.
There you go, Stool Mintzy.
It's Stool Mintzy, and then at Wake Up Mintzy on Instagram and Twitter.
There we go. Mintzy, thank you for joining me.
Oh, this is so much fun, man. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing it. And like I said off the top, look out for the draft that's coming on Monday. Mintzy's on it. And
there's a hell of a funny clip.
Yeah, exactly. It was fun chopping it up.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mintzy. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. That's it for today. We'll see you Monday for the draft.